at the site or here in the small group discussions. If possible, could we get someone from each group to share? Anyone's more than welcome to come up. It doesn't have to go in merit order. Anyone? Okay.
I think one thing I just wanted to share today, I've been to Manzanar a lot over the last few years, but this was my first pilgrimage. So I've never gotten to see it so full of life and people. And so just getting to see the site with all of us today, getting a sense for what it might have been like, 10,000 other people around me, and just getting to see kids out playing basketball on the court today, and just seeing it come alive and really getting a sense for what it felt like.
Would anyone else like to share? I do know, my group, I know we had a lot to talk about. We did talk about the fact that with all the quotes and things going on, about history possibly repeating itself, and just kind of how fear is such a big influence on some people's decisions. Anyone in the schools like to share? Thanks.
One thing that was really interesting to see was I wasn't really aware of how many people this really affected. So when you had to raise your hand, trying to see like people who were interned and people who had family interned was like really eye-opening. How it affected that many people. Also to realize like to see people come from different parts of the country or even have like different ethnic backgrounds. That was really interesting too. That's that.
Like I said, this is an open mic night, so if you guys are willing to share, we also, if you guys have a Zoom performance, anything that you think, while you guys were talking in small group discussions, brought up a memory, and just kind of hit home, you're more than welcome to come up. Is there anyone that would just like to share?
Hi, so in my group, we had a number of young people and a couple of internees as well, which is always great to see. I love to see when people of vastly different generations are speaking in the same group. And so we heard some very nice, interesting stories, personal stories from the internees. And then we also heard from a lot of college age or high school students. And one of the striking things for me was that I graduated high school maybe a couple decades ago, that things hadn't changed that much in terms of the education and awareness. And I always think that like, oh, we've grown so much because I see what I think is all this progress in the last 20, 30 years. But it sounds like young people still dealing with the same issues of people not necessarily being fully aware of the internment in their history, having to go out of their way outside the normal curriculum to find those stories, that information. And so I see that fight for getting the stories told is still very present amongst the younger generation. But I am encouraged by the young people today because they spoke very articulately. They're obviously, the ones here are probably the most well-informed of that generation. So it's actually really nice to see the young people. Came out first. Sacramento, which is a huge trip there. We saw a number of people from Florence, so it was really nice to see them, and as well as San Diego down to the south. So I really enjoyed the small group.
In my small group discussion, it was really interesting to see that some people in my group drew parallels between the internment of Japanese Americans and the treatment of certain groups today, such as the Muslim Americans.
A young woman in our group who told a story about last year and when she drove back through Bishop with her group. She's still here. Oh, they left. Oh, no. Okay, well, I'll try not to butcher it then. But I guess, just on that same topic, there were members of the group who were Muslim American, and I guess they refused service at a restaurant in Bishop, and they also wanted to bowl, and they weren't allowed to bowl, and so they were perplexed about coming back this year. And this year, I guess they kind of to call ahead and get the Rotary Club involved, and they were not refused service this time, but it was a little shocking to see that that kind of thing is still very much alive today.
My
My name is Mo Nishida, and I would like to share with you folks a different way of coming to Manzanar and enjoying this great event. I'm part of a group called, formerly called the 250-mile Little Tokyo to Manzanar Spiritual Unity. Wow, I lost them already. Anyhow, we're spirit runners, and we come to walk, run all the way from LA. Okay, and I want to share some songs with you. Okay, that we practice. Can we have the spirit runners? I introduce them also. But these folks have come 250 miles, walking up, basically following the trail that our people took. To have put up the camps and then be put in camp. So, this is my partner. You know me? Alda, Dave, and Akiko. Now, Akiko has come all the way from Japan to participate in this one. We would like to do 3 songs. One is a Vision Quest song that was given to me on my second Vision Quest. That's going up on a mountain and fasting for 4 days and 4 nights. Sometimes wonderful things happen to you. The second song will be from the Lakota people, the Four Direction song. And the last one will be our Manzanar Run song. Okay, and we invite everybody to come on out and listen to Takabushi. And it's to the tune of Takabushi, so we can do that too. Okay?
This is a recording. This red road is a long one. This red road is a long one. Take each step, one by one. Even far places can be reached in this way. This red road is a long one. This red road is a long one. Come take my hand and walk it with me. Itakia. On our journey, it takes us about 8 days to get here. 9 days. Correct. 9 days to get here, so we do a little practice. Although some of it may not sound like a good practice. But the next song is the Four Direction song that the Lakota people share or teach us in terms of trying to live in harmony with the Earth Mother and all of its people. So that's what this is about. Okay, about getting along and taking care of the Earth Mother and not letting it be destroyed as it's being done right now. So we will have our star leaders.
J
one of the reasons we wanted to share the Four Directions song is that we should have an understanding, at least not feel threatened or not feel disturbed because you hear a language that ain't your own, or you understand.
Hi, my name is Julie Yoshinaga. I'm from Cal State Law Future, second year. Currently, I'm in the Youth Student Union and I'm the vice president, and I'm also a part of JCL, KSW district. And last year was the first time I came to Manzanar, and I had the honor of, learning about my roots and getting really in touch with what my grandfather went through at our mountain, and learning about a lot of the history that, I probably didn't learn in the history books that were given to us growing up. And this year I had the honor to be a discussion group leader, and it was really eye-opening, and I was so fortunate to have that opportunity to do that because I felt so, I guess, appreciative towards all my culture and also like other cultures that came here and joined us today too. I know in my group we have Japanese Americans and also Muslim Americans, and we shared similar experiences, and I really learned that we don't want history to repeat itself, and we need to really work together to make sure that we can all create a space for dialogue and talk so nothing bad happens, and so we can all be like friends and live in a peaceful world. And yeah, thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Reed. I go to UCLA, and today was the first time I've actually been to Manzanar, and I thought it was very informative, and it provided insight into what my grandparents went through when they were returned. Because growing up, they didn't really talk about their stories and their experiences in camp, and I thought that by coming here, I would be able to kind of gain insight into their lives during the camp, and I thought that was very powerful. Thank you very much.
Yes, I thought I should bring this up. For my group, one thing that we really did talk about was the future, what's the next step for this. And one thing that I really wanted to stress, that I stressed in our group, is that basically this is something that as time goes on, we could have less and less actual resources to ask people about us, about them, determine how they felt when incarcerated. And it almost does become, either we transcribe what they have or it becomes word of mouth. And I think that's something that we just need to really cherish right now, because in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, we won't have that. And I think that's something that's our next step, as far as, we said the Sanses and Yonses, but as long as this generation, all the people on the seats right here, anyone that's in high school and younger, that's one of the next steps is to just preserve what we have and to make sure that everything that you have right now is documented, so we could find the information, we could educate and just keep this going, and not just make it for people that are Japanese or know someone else incarcerated or anything of that nature. It's to open up to everybody so that they're willing to, so that they can learn. I think one thing that we talked about was, how would you talk to somebody that has no connection to this, and how would you bring them here? And what some of them said was just basically, what you learn from here is not for just one community, not one ethnic group. It's for everybody, because it could have affected anybody if just history was different. So I think that's one thing that we really do need.
I just want to build upon that. Also, again, try and call up somebody that was in our group, the woman who said, let's all take an oath. Is she here? You're sitting to my right. Oh, okay. All right. Well, we had in our group, among other variety of people, including a history teacher, middle school history teacher, and people who had been at Manzanar, and college students, and there, right? Yes, big group. But anyway, I think one question came up. How can we really changed? And, nobody really had a good answer for that. But the answer is that, there is no magic bullet, right? We all have an obligation to be educators. Everyone in this room, I think, probably feels that in some way, or you wouldn't be here today. So a member of our group said, let's all take an oath. I know in my life, I took that oath a really long time ago, and my commitment has always been there. My participation has kind of come and gone, with life getting in the way sometimes. But I think we all have to look inside ourselves and try and affect change by just whatever it is you do. Members of your family, bring people here, your students. Today I brought my daughter, several of her fellow Girl Scout members. Some of them have been here before, some are coming again, some are coming for the first time, and I'm hoping that this will be the beginning of a journey for that as well as the parents. Thank you guys for coming.
What you said is right on. Because my mother passed away in November. She was 92. And we cleaned out her house. We found this red soft-cover book called Born Free and Equal by Manzanar At Dusk. And then we saw this thing at the Scarborough Center that they were having a photography thing, and so I went. And in the museum case is that book. I didn't realize how valuable it was. And so I had to come. I came when I was really little. There was nothing here back then. I don't even remember. But one story, I just want to share one story. So when I was in college, I'm 55 now. When I was in college, I had a speech class. So all you college kids, I was remembering back then, and I chose to do Manzanar. They don't want to talk about it. None of my relatives wanted to talk about it. My mother didn't want to talk about it. But I made her talk, because otherwise I would have failed the class. So when I was growing up, she'd always have her plate of food and her cup. And when she'd get up to go get something from the refrigerator, she'd put a napkin on her food and get the little margarine plastic lid and put it on the cup. I used to say, Mom, what are you doing that for? I don't know. She did that over and over. And then when I interviewed her for the paper, she remembered waiting in line for an hour. And you get to your place and you can't eat food or drink a drink because it's full already. And then I come here this weekend, and now I know the wind and and it's what? It's May tomorrow. And it's cold. I can't imagine December or January when there's no insulation, but they don't talk about it. The generation doesn't talk about it. And you're right, they're all going to be gone. They're all going to be gone. So it's oral tradition. It's getting, so because after that day, I cried, she cried, and that napkin came off, and the lid came off. So there's things that the people that are still living that are there, there's things that are affecting that. I don't know, sometimes if we can get, if we have relatives and we can get them to talk about it, to sign up for a paper or something, tell them, Grandma, you're going to talk about it on flunk the class. But sometimes when they talk about it, it helps them. Because she didn't even know why she did that. But stories, it's all about the stories. When we share our stories, it's the human condition, we're all human. So coming together and sharing stories like this is very healing, it's very powerful, and it's like a completion for me. I had to come for closure, and I'm glad I came. Thank you.
My name is David Cheryl from San Jose. Coming up because my father's sitting there. He's having trouble with his hearing aid, so I thought I really need to come up because he was in the camp, and he has a lot of stories. I was fortunate because I'm third generation, so talked a little bit about things that happened, but we benefited from the hard work he put in after coming back. He actually was a no-no boy, I guess. Well, he was guilty by association. He was sent to Toonie Lake, so he spent 2 years at Manzanar, 2 years at Toonie Lake, and then he, right after the war, he was taken back to Japan, you know, really against his will because he didn't want to go. First thing he did, as soon as he was 18, he came back to the United States and joined the Army with the goal of returning to Japan as part of the occupation forces, which he eventually did. One of the stories with my dad, I don't know how many people here were actually at camp, but he snuck off the camp a couple times, crawling under the fence to go up into the hills because he was bored at the camp. He did it twice. The second time, I guess, my grandmother was so angry he didn't do it anymore. But, he didn't catch some fish up in the creeks up there with his hands and his friends. But I'm very humbled by all this experience. My uncle was also, he was part of the 442nd Infantry. And I remember growing up, my parents and my uncles, they never talked about anything. You know, finally one day, my cousin's friends convinced my uncle to do a documentary. And when I didn't realize the significance of what they went through until I actually saw this. It's called Young Barbed Wire. And when I watched it, I felt so proud of what my uncle, my grandparents, my father, my mother was posted, and all the things we went through made my life easier. So this is our first trip here. My dad, he would drive by, I guess just didn't want to stop, but we told him last year, he said, oh, I'd like to go. And we talked about it, and I go, well, where is it? Let's go. When is it? So we brought him up with my wife and one of my daughters. I have 3, and she's actually writing a report for school about this. So she's been interviewing him, asking all kinds of questions, and some of the stories that he tells her. Some of them she'd look at and Grandpa, that's not appropriate. But he, I think, the next generation should be very proud, and it is very important to keep this information live, because I remember just trying to find materials about the camps. There's nothing written. People aren't going to write down things that they're ashamed of. And even like trying to research, I did a report on my uncle, the 447. I tried to find information. You can find tons of books on World War II. If you look in the back, there's nothing about the 447. And it's the most decorated infantry in U.S. war history, and it should be remembered. But thank you, Dad. Even though you can't hear me.
I had to come back and speak again. I hope those last 2 personal stories were really nice. I hope more people come up and do that. I actually don't have one like that because I was fortunate not to have my family intern. But I do remember in the 6th grade, our teacher actually spent one day talking briefly about the Japanese American internment and how deeply embarrassed and ashamed I felt as a Japanese American for no good reason, obviously. And I remember thinking that, like, why am I embarrassed by this? Like, it was about an injustice, but I remember feeling that, but not having a way of expressing that or acting upon that, because, I was the only Japanese American, one of the few Asian American kids in the class. So I'm actually a council member now. I'm a politician in the city of West Covina, and I just had to make a pitch because of all these great personal stories about the internment and what's going on, and to make sure that people understand how much power and influence that you can have as an individual. There's so many articulate people who are very well educated here. I sit in a small group and I hear people talk. You would be shocked at how few people come to city council meetings to talk about issues. If we heard some of the people who speak the way they speak so eloquently at some of our council meetings, they could change pretty big decisions that our city makes because of how few people actually come and let us know what they think, how persuasive they are. The percentage of voters, especially young voters who came out in previous elections up in LA County, I think it might have been the single digits last year. It's awful how few people participate in politics and government. And I think things like this are incredible reminders about how important it is to take steps and to be engaged. It doesn't have to be voting, although everyone should be voting. It could be things like posting on your Facebook page about public issues, about calling out people like Donald Trump, who's who's a fear monger. It could be all these small steps, writing an email or a letter to your local elected official. You'd be surprised at how persuasive one voice that speaks persuasively and logically can influence elected officials like myself. So I had to make that pitch because there's such a good positive energy here to let you know that you really can do those things. Heck, you can run for elective office. I did. The first time I ever run for office was for city council. I'd never run for student body government. I'd never done any of those things. So people here have the potential to do all kinds of stuff. And it can start with very small things. And don't underestimate your ability to change government and public policy. Thank you very much for hearing my
So that concludes our Manzanar At Dusk. I do hope that everyone had learned something new today and taken something away. And I hope to see you guys next year. I would like to thank the Manzanar Committee for putting this together, Longtime High School for letting us use this, and also the Manzanar At Dusk Committee, because none of that would have been possible if everyone didn't put this together.
Pretty much covered what we were going to cover, but what I wanted to do, on behalf of Wendy and myself, I want to thank you all for coming. The next year's event, the 48th Annual Manzanar Pilgrimage and the 2017 Manzanar At Dusk program will be Saturday, April 29th, 2017. But before we wrap up,
yeah, so we just wanted to thank Leon, who's standing over there, for being here. It's 9 a.m. this morning, setting up the gym. He unlocked a room for us when it started to rain on us, and kind of our superhero here. So thank you so much.
you know, Leon's been with us for how many years he's been now, but every year he knows the drills, so it makes it a lot easier for us. He knows the setup. He just does a great job for us. So thanks again. We really appreciate it. Student organizing committee, come join us in front, please. All of you. As we told you when we started, Loretta, come up, quickly. She's running. While she runs, for those of you who remember the word I used was ownership. And I said, we don't take that word very lightly. And I'm getting emotional because I'm really proud of these kids. I don't call them kids lightly, but I call them kids because I'm a lot older than they are now. But these folks started in October. And we, in some ways, agonized over what we're going to do this year because it's a presidential election year. There's so many different aspects to what we could do in Manzanar At Dusk this year. But something that we didn't realize how powerful it would be. We were just talking about this when the quotes on the wall. Brandon was just talking. We probably could have done a program without the open, just have the quotes in those straight to small groups. They were that exciting. So I want to give them a lot of props for their creativity, their thought, and their care, their dedication for putting this on. And they really took ownership of this program, so please give them a hand.